A federal judge in South Carolina, Judge Currie, is not the only one that wants to know what Lindsey Halligan, Donald Trump's novice prosecutor, told the grand jury when she was obtaining the indictment of Letitia James and James Comey. What did she do in that room? What witnesses did she put on? What facts did she misstate to obtain those indictments? It's also now the subject of a new motion to obtain the transcript and the video and the audio of the grand jury proceedings filed by James Comey just in the last few hours. He's basically saying that she is an incompetent, that there is already evidence to suggest, based on irregularities, that there was grand jury misconduct by Lindsey Halligan. Look at Lindsey Halligan. She's been a federal prosecutor for all of about 3 weeks. She's already being accused in one potential lawsuit of having destroyed federal documents by using a disappearing app to communicate against the Letitia James case. And now she's being accused of prosecutorial misconduct and grand jury misconduct as a ground to dismiss the indictment by James Comey's lawyers. I've got the motion. I'm going to go over it with you right here. We're going to post it up in Legal AF Substack for you to read. And on this Friday, hit the free subscribe button to continue to grow this pro-democracy channel and try to get to 1 million subscribers in the next 30 days. We're that close. Let me read to you from the motion. Starting from the back and working forward the way I like to do it, starting on page 16, which sort of summarizes the entirety of the argument to obtain the grand jury proceedings information. Now, for those that are just joining this story, generally grand jury information about who are the grand jurors and what happened in the grand jury room is shrouded in secrecy. It is covered in darkness. Things have to be filed, redacted, and covered so the public doesn't see. We have to protect the sanctity of the grand jury process. That is one of the foundations of our system of justice. But there are occasions when the defense gets to find out how the indictment happened, an indictment of grand jurors. And there were a lot of strange things that happened here that are pointed out by Comey in the filing, like late night operation of the grand jury. Weird. Two different indictments being presented to the magistrate judge who was presiding over all of this by Lindsey Halligan, who couldn't properly explain why there are two indictments, both signed by her, one with two counts and one with 3 counts. Was there really what we call a return of a true bill of indictment? Now, there's separate motions that James Comey has filed about the indictment, but this is about the irregularity of the grand jury proceeding. He says on page 16 of his motion, the highly irregular procedures that led to the indictment increased the risk that the government misstated key legal and factual issues to the grand jury. You can't lie to the grand jury. You can't misstate it. Lindsey Halligan had only been a federal prosecutor for hours, and had never been a prosecutor before at all when she went into this. This is like somebody entering the surgical theater to do brain surgery after reading about it for a few hours online. Here's what it says. As a general matter, the departure of a career prosecutor who reportedly determined that there was no probable cause to charge Mr. Comey, the subsequent installation of a White House official with no prosecutorial experience, and the resulting return of an error-ridden indictment by themselves support a finding that inherently suspect procedures were used before the grand jury. All available information regarding Ms. Halligan's first ever grand jury presentation smacks of irregularity. It is virtually unheard of, Comey says in his filing, for a brand new prosecutor to make her first grand jury presentation alone without the supervision and guidance of an experienced prosecutor to ensure the absence of factual and legal errors. I also think this is what Judge Currie in South Carolina, presiding over the motion to dismiss Lindsey Halligan, for being illegally appointed, she wants to see the grand jury transcripts too. It's like a competition to see the grand jury transcripts. Because what did she do? What did she say? How did she perform this brain surgery by herself with no guidance? It continues. Nevertheless, Ms. Halligan entered the grand jury alone to present a proposed indictment charging Mr. Comey in 3 counts. That first attempt apparently failed, resulting in no true bill vote by the grand jury. Undeterred by her initial failure, Ms. Halligan did not excuse the grand jury for the day. Instead, the grand jury remained at the courthouse into the evening hours to vote again on a second indictment at 6:47 p.m. I mean, this is a 9-to-5 job, folks. That highly unusual decision could have sent the message that the grand jurors would not be permitted to leave unless and until they returned a true bill. They're arguing that she held the grand jury hostage. And if Ms. Halligan used words to suggest that message, it would further support dismissing the indictment. And she might have, having never done this job before. It continues. It is also evident, they say on page 17, that even if Ms. Halligan did not expressly deliver the message, the coercive and rushed process that she employed may have led the grand jury to believe that they must indict. It also is evident from the current record that her inexperience affected the grand jury proceedings. On page 17, it says she erroneously signed the first indictment she presented, for which the grand jury failed to return a true bill, then created confusion by presenting two signed indictments to the presiding magistrate. Her own apparent confusion during the return proceedings supports the inference. She failed to give basic instructions to the grand jury and to accurately answer their questions. Well, it's no shock. She'd never done it before. Although such experience alone would not ordinarily satisfy the defense's burden for unsealing the records, that inexperience must be viewed alongside Ms. Halligan's likely motive to obtain an indictment to satisfy the president's demands. I mean, Trump is demanding in social media that there be an indictment of Comey and of Letitia James. Then there's this issue that's very interesting on page 18 that I'd never heard of before, that somehow James Comey's attorney-client privilege had been violated as part of the grand jury proceedings and the testimony of the sole witness, an FBI agent. They say on page 18, based on a review of the discovery materials that they have obtained, because they got allegedly all of the documents from the other side, from the government, as part of the Brady material, the defense material that they need. And in there, they got what the special agent might have said during the grand jury. As noted above, the agent's name appears on the indictment return sheet and the criminal case cover sheet. The agent's role as a witness raises serious concerns about the misuse of privileged information in the grand jury. The same day the agent apparently testified before the grand jury, he alerted, and then this is redacted, so we'll have to find out as this case continues. That information apparently related to certain attorneys for Mr. Comey, including Mr. Richmond. See, they had interviewed Daniel Richmond, a professor at Columbia, who was a friend of Comey's, who worked in the FBI and was also in the U.S. Attorney's Office at one time. He was a lawyer for James Comey. And in interviewing, the argument goes, in interviewing Richmond, who's mentioned in the indictment as person number 3 or person number 2, that they might have obtained attorney-client privileged information that they used against James Comey in the indictment. And that is a big no-no. So this is their demand to Judge Nachmanoff to get the grand jury transcript so they can flesh out these arguments. I think it'll be a success. As I said, there's a competition now. Everybody wants the grand jury materials, including Legal AF. Judge Currie, who's deciding whether Lindsey Halligan lives or dies as a prosecutor, she wants it. What was said in that room? We're all interested. And now we've got this motion. I'll do some other coverage later today about, and along with Adam Klasfeld of All Rise News, about the series of motions that have all been filed at the same time by James Comey. Remember, he filed 2 motions already last week. A motion to dismiss for vindictive prosecution, the indictment. A motion to get rid of Lindsey Halligan as illegally appointed. Now he's filed a motion for a bill of particulars. We can't make heads or tail out of the indictment. We need more information. That's what that's all about. And now this motion about the grand jury proceedings, along with another motion to dismiss the indictment because it is completely ambiguous and sloppily drafted. We'll cover it all right here. And for updates to this fast-moving story, go to Legal AF Substack, hit the free subscribe button, and if you can swing being a paid member for $7 a month, you'll get all this information and more on a daily basis. We do about 7 or 8 postings there a day. I'm going to post all of these documents for you to read later today on Substack for yourself under Filings AF, and then become a subscriber here on Legal AF YouTube. Oh, we're so close. We're going to make 900,000 subscribers in just about a year over the weekend with your help. It's all free. It's the way you support us. We don't have outside investors. We don't have a paywall. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.